Thank you for keeping this in Delhi, where we have discussed where Delhi, despite being the capital of the country, having such a poor public library system and a movement, where it is also important for us to discuss what is the situation of reading and of the libraries in our university. Delhi being host to one of the largest, most in terms of ranking, one of the highest universities in the central universities in the country and state universities. What is the situation here of reading and of the libraries? Because as we all have understood, library is fundamental to our universities, and the way that I will be speaking largely in a context here because I'm adding up to what Dhananjay and Oishi has already spoken, mostly in the context of JNU. I have studied in 3 other universities in Delhi. That includes where I did my UG in Delhi University and my PG in Ambedkar University, Delhi. And currently I'm pursuing my PhD from Jamia Millia Islamia. So there's a pattern that we see while we discuss reading and libraries especially. And this pattern is linked to the constant shrinking of our democratic campus spaces that is happening. So I, starting from Delhi University, if we were to speak of it, I joined Delhi University back in 2018. And during that period, one of the first movements or a program that I had participated as a new person in the university was the movement demanding the 24/7 running of the Central Library of Delhi University, which was completely student run, which many organizations had come together demanding this, and to a large extent the movement had also seen success. But what is the situation, larger situation of the Delhi University and the Delhi University Central Library is what we need to question further on. There are around 70 to 80 approximate colleges inside Delhi University, and they are having their own individual libraries there. But majority of these colleges, if you look at the infrastructure, it is extremely poor with very worn out books, old books without any sort of maintenance. We see the timing in majority of these institutes being from 9 till 4:30 to 5. 4:30 and 5 being the time when classes end in these spaces in these colleges. Where students are required to leave is when the classes get over, is also when the library is shut down. The only other space which has somewhat adequate collection of books, if I were to say, is the Central Library, which has a sitting capacity of approximately 150 students. In a campus, in Delhi University being one of the largest in terms of size, with over 2 lakh students, this is the largest situation of the library. And Central Library also, if you're talking about it, it has various other restrictions. None of the UG students can access it. None of the SOL students can access the Central Library, which is also worrying because they are the ones who are in the most requirement of a library space, a space where they can sit and discuss and read, which the Central Library is not providing largely. And when we talk about 24/7 library and everything, space and everything, what is the situation outside the larger surrounding of these libraries? After 8 or 9, if you go near the Central Library, there is not a single street light or any sort of there is no space where students, especially women students, can come out at night, late in night, because of the threatening atmosphere that is built around the university. So it is in this context that Delhi University has been operating their libraries inside. And also to add on to this is not the library that we imagine when we talk about libraries, most of you sitting here. In any of these libraries, you don't have any space to discuss, sit, read. I mean, you can sit silently and read somewhere with these 150 students. There is no opportunity or space for anybody, any student, to come and discuss. And if you were to think that you can sit outside and discuss in your classrooms or even in the lawns, if you want to conduct a reading circle, the guards will immediately come. In most contexts, will tell you that this is not allowed here. Gathering is not allowed. And if you organize students, if you do a reading session on what on the condition, or literally anything. This is the sort of how they employ force to throw students out of their own campus is what you can constantly see in our universities, especially Delhi University, where reading in itself is completely inaccessible. You can study while the teacher is taking your classes, but if you want to book a room to hold a session, you are not allowed. You don't get permission to do any sort of readings outside of your classrooms. And this is where the largest university in our country, in terms of student size and also in terms of media, this attention and glory that Delhi University seemingly has. This is the way it has always functioned. And then what is the other solution? What do students do after that? Because Delhi University covering spread, which is a university spread across the state, there are students living in various parts of the state. And for them, the only other space that they can potentially, which is argued that they can access, is the private libraries outside. And when I say private libraries, I do not mean, don't imagine stack of books there. It's a cubicle in most of the private so-called libraries in student areas at Delhi University, North Campus and South Campus. It is basically small cubicles in which there's a desk. And you can rent the desk for a day or whenever you want to come and study with your own books and everything. And they charge, the least that they charge is around 1,500 to 2,000 to have the basic, the most minimum private library you're accessing. This is the fee that they charge you. So this is the situation where students are at. So after their classes, they have to go back to their PG, where there is PG or flats, rented flats paying 10,000 to 20,000 per month. With literally, if you see the condition in which students of Delhi University study in, it is absolutely horrifying. The roof can fall off anytime they want. The 10 students are crammed up into one room because they can't pay the rent. And there are very few hostel facilities. In a campus of 2 lakh students, less than 6,000 students get hostels there. So, and the only other space is for them to go outside and study. And this has been the ongoing situation. And carrying forward, and also to add on to this, there is an important aspect when we talk about university libraries, is that students being the stakeholders of the larger university and everything, when we say all of this, they have no stake over the libraries in most of the campuses or colleges, where there are no student representatives for the central library, where their demands and their voices can be heard. And that is why these movements and struggles have been important for the student community of Delhi University. An exception from what I remember, what I know personally, is of Hindu College, where it has a library minister who is part of the student union there. And we have seen even though the powers of this library minister is limited, we can also see a very clear distinction about how the students there have, whenever library minister, especially previously when the progressive panel had the library minister, we could see initiations coming from the student side to improve the facilities of the library. Like the timing has been changed, from 4:30 it was increased to 7, and more programs like book exchange programs and book suggestion programs were all introduced during a brief period in between, and also it is still going on, in which that system at place, having a student representative, is something that is missing from the larger scenario everywhere. Coming to other universities also, the situation is not very different. Ambedkar University is another university where I have seen personally. I studied during the COVID period there. There also, for any basic library changes, students are forced to come out and build movement, sit overnight. There has been overnight sit-in protests just to demand tables and chairs being increased and bought, because there was no space for students to sit and study. And again, the same problems with timings, when the library ends at a particular time and students still need access to it, is there. And Ambedkar University being a smaller campus, there is much lesser space also. And things have changed a lot over the past 2-3 years. When I remember 3 to 4 years ago, students would easily come and access a room or book a room. Was a very common practice in this university. If they wanted to do a seminar, students just had to talk to their professors and then book a room. And then right now, for anything, absolutely nothing students are allowed to organize. I remember very recently when we are discussing study circles, recently during December 6th, Ambedkar Mahaparinirvan Divas, also the demolition day of Babri Masjid, when the students there decided to do a reading circle, reading Ambedkar, and that too in a university named after Ambedkar, immediately when they heard all of these terms, Babri Masjid, Ambedkar, the administration did whatever possible they can to disrupt the reading from happening, from taking place in a university named after Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. And Jamia, when we discuss, I need to conclude with Jamia largely because it is an ongoing, a constant struggle there. Us, the students, where campus democracy is bad, where an undeclared or a declared emergency is at place inside Jamia Millia Islamia, where 2 office memorandums were released back in 2022 and after the new Vice Chancellor had taken over. Making gathering of more than 5 students illegal, doing study circles, banning the basic minimum demand of students organizing and coming together and reading has been completely banned and taken back. And recently, students were also suspended. More than 17 students were suspended from the campus for demanding that this should be our space. We need access to our own universities. This university belongs to the students, and you cannot dictate what we can do and what we should do in a public university like Jamia Millia Islamia. 17 students were suspended, and that is still going on. The library there is there's a library which we all, when we hear library in Jamia, we should remember what happened in December 15th back in 2022 when police personnel, when the CNRC was going on, broke inside the library and the rest of the universities, tear gassing the students. And in remembrance, in this December 15th, when students decided to organize within the campus, immediately the first notice that came out was that they are shutting down the library so the students don't come to campus. It was an otherwise holiday, and they gave a notice ending. They gave a notice saying that the library is under maintenance for this one day alone, and they did not mention student protest and everything, and it was shut down. And that is how they have been curbing our spaces as students. Our spaces are constantly being curbed, where students are now literally having no space to go and organize, talk, discuss, and develop themselves. Students are in their own universities, they are outsiders, where their own words have is a constant resistance that is coming. And I believe that this Library Congress and coming days of movements and struggles onwards, things will change and we will recapture our universities, and reading in universities will back to what it was, and not back to what it was, to more freedom and more democracy in our campuses. Thank you.